I never thought much about being invisible. To me, silence wasn't weakness, it was dignity. I helped without expecting thanks, watched without complaining, and loved without announcing it. Ariba didn't know, and maybe she never would. That evening, I was fixing the gate latch outside her house when I heard her laughter drift across the yard. She was with someone, Bilal, I think. They didn't notice me crouched by the gate, hands greasy from the hinge. "She's so quiet, isn't she?" Ariba said, light as a bell. "Almost like she doesn't exist." "Like who?" the man asked. I froze mid-turn, pretending to adjust the hinge. My heart sank. "Your neighbor," she said casually. "The one who's always around." "He's just a neighbor." I bit my tongue. That sentence, so small, so careless, it felt like a knife. Just a neighbor. The words echoed inside me, louder than her laughter. I smiled, a hollow, polite smile, and said nothing. I didn't run. I didn't yell. I didn't call her out. I let it pass. But inside something cracked. Later, Mrs. Khan from across the street stopped by. "Saad, are you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," I said, brushing off the grease. "Just tired." She looked at me, sharp eyes. "Tired of what? Fixing gates all day?" I shrugged. "Something like that." She didn't push further. Mrs. Khan always had a way of seeing through people without saying it aloud. I didn't want her pity. The next morning, I greeted her as usual. "Morning, Ariba. The weather's nice today." She looked up from her phone and smiled. That smile, the one that didn't see me, hit harder than anything she could say. "Morning," she said lightly. "I didn't see you yesterday. I was fixing the gate," I lied. Not that she cared. Her laughter floated over the fence again. I wanted to tell her I was right there. Watching. Listening. I exist. But I stayed silent like I always did. Umar called me later. "You okay, man? You sound off." I laughed quietly. "I'm fine." "You're lying," he said bluntly. "Something's up with Ariba again, isn't it?" I hesitated. "It's nothing." "Saad, come on. You've been like this for years. Just admit she said something stupid and it got to you." I swallowed. She said I'm just a neighbor." Umar laughed, not meanly but sharply. "And it hit you like a bullet." "Yeah, I get it. But you've been standing there, watching her, helping her family, doing everything, and what do you expect? People see what they want." I frowned. "It's not that simple. I've never expected anything. I don't know. It hurts that she doesn't even notice." "Notice?" Umar sounded frustrated. "Saad, you've been there for years. You're invisible by choice, man. You can't get mad at her for not seeing you." "I know," I said softly, though the ache inside me didn't ease. "I know. But it still stings." Later that week, I went over with some groceries. Her father was sick and I thought I'd help. Ariba answered the door. "Oh, you again?" she said, frowning slightly. "What's this?" "Nothing, just some groceries for your father," I said. She took them, rolling her eyes playfully. "You don't have to do this every time. He's fine." "I know," I said. I like helping." She laughed, brushing past me. "You're so serious, Saad. Always serious. Sometimes I wonder if you even enjoy yourself." I wanted to tell her, I enjoy watching you laugh. I enjoy helping you. I enjoy existing near you. But I stayed quiet. Later I helped fix the faucet. She didn't say thank you. She didn't have to. Helping had become my silent routine, my invisible love letter. That night I couldn't sleep. I thought about her words, just a neighbor. I went out to the balcony, staring at the dim lights of her house. She was laughing again, this time on a video call. I couldn't hear him clearly, but it didn't matter. I wasn't jealous. Not exactly. I whispered to myself, I've been here all this time and I'm just a neighbor. A sharp laugh escaped me, half disbelief, half pain. How easily loyalty is ignored when it comes without conditions. I never demanded anything, and yet, somehow, that made my presence meaningless. I remembered fixing the gate that afternoon. Mrs. Khan's words echoed, "People see what they want." Maybe she saw me as nothing because I let her. Maybe all these years, I built a shadow around myself instead of letting her see the real me. The next day, I ran into her on the street. She waved casually. "Morning, neighbor." Something in me snapped. I looked her in the eyes, calm but piercing. "Morning, Ariba." She smiled brightly. "You're always around. It's funny how you notice everything, yet I never notice you." I felt the old ache twist inside me, but I held it back. "Maybe you're looking in the wrong direction," I said softly. She tilted her head, curious. "What do you mean?" "Nothing," I said, and walked on. My heart was heavy, but there was a strange relief in speaking even the smallest truth. Umar called that night. So, did you finally tell her how you feel? No, I said. I'm tired of feeling invisible. I'm tired of laughing at my own silence. You're a fool, Saad. But I get it. You're not ready yet. Patience, man. Patience. I've been patient my whole life, I muttered, staring at the ceiling. Maybe that's the problem. The weekend came and I decided to just observe. She was hosting a small gathering. I stayed outside, pretending to water the plants. She was in the living room, talking and laughing, completely unaware of me. One of the guests said something I couldn't hear clearly and she laughed. Then she said the words again like a casual remark, like it didn't matter. Saad? Oh, he's just a neighbor. The world slowed for a second. My hand froze on the watering can. My chest tightened. I wanted to storm in, to shout, to show her that she had no idea what she was saying. But I didn't. I took a deep breath, set the watering can down and whispered to myself, fine. Be blind. I'll stay in the shadows for now. Mrs. Khan called later that evening. Saad, I heard what she said. Are you sure you're okay? I'm fine, I said louder this time. Really? It's nothing. You don't have to hide it, you know. Not every word needs to be swallowed. I know, I said. I don't want to make a scene. Scenes don't fix people who can't see you, she said gently. But they do make you stronger. I thought about that all night. Stronger. Maybe that's what I needed, not her recognition, not her gratitude. Just strength. To stand even when ignored. To exist even when unseen. The next morning I helped my father with chores. My hands were sore, my mind restless. But there was a clarity in the pain. The words she spoke didn't wound me anymore, they reminded me of something important. I wasn't invisible because she couldn't see me. I was invisible because I chose not to demand attention. And maybe, just maybe, one day the people who looked down on me would realize what they'd missed. For now I was patient, silent, watching, learning. But inside something had shifted. Something that wouldn't go back. The man who had smiled quietly while she dismissed him was gone. In his place stood someone who understood the weight of being unseen. Someone who knew that loyalty and love, no matter how quiet, deserved acknowledgement. And if it never came from her, that was her loss, not mine. I went back to fixing the gate. It creaked, but I didn't mind. I was finally awake. And just maybe, the world would notice me someday, on my own terms. I didn't tell anyone about Sarah. Not my neighbors, not my friends, not even Mrs. Khan. Some things I realized were better left unspoken. Peace is stronger when it's silent. Umar called me one evening. Hey man, you're quiet today. What's going on? I shrugged. Nothing really. Don't lie, Saad. You're telling me there's nothing when you've been texting someone constantly. Who is it? I hesitated. I can't tell you. Not yet. Not yet? What is that supposed to mean? Someone new? Yeah, I said softly. Her name is Sarah. That's all you get for now. Umar laughed. Finally you moved on. I was beginning to think you'd never speak to a girl again. I smirked. Moving on isn't exactly the right word. I didn't need drama this time. I wanted something simple. Simple? Umar sounded doubtful. You? Simple? Yes, I said. Simple. No games. No pride fights. No pretending to be someone else. Just peace. All right, I get it, Umar said, pausing. But why keep her hidden? You're Saad, not some secret agent. I don't want anyone telling me how to live, I admitted. Especially not Ariba. I don't want her opinion to matter. Umar was silent for a moment. Fair enough, I guess. But you sure this isn't just your ego talking? I frowned. Ego? Maybe. Or maybe it's the first time I feel like I matter without needing to prove it. He laughed. Huh. That's actually kinda cute. So, when do I meet this magical girl? Soon, I said. When I'm ready. Sarah was different. She didn't care that I lived next to Ariba or that my neighbors whispered about my quiet life. She treated me like a choice, not an obligation. Do you want some tea? She asked one evening, smiling gently. Yes, please, I said, sitting across from her. She poured it silently, careful, yet not overly formal. I like how you don't rush. You take your time with things. I raised an eyebrow. That sounds like a compliment. It is, she said, smiling. Some people rush to impress, some rush to escape. You just exist. It's nice. I wanted to tell her that existing near her had always felt like life. That when I wasn't with her, the world was quieter. But I stayed silent. I didn't need to say it aloud. The next day, Umar called again. So, How's the quiet girl treating the loud neighbor? She's not loud, I said, smiling. She's just calm. I like it. Calm, huh? Sounds boring. It's not boring. It's honest. And that's rare. Fair enough, Umar said. But don't hide her too long. People will start noticing and then you'll have drama again. I'm done with drama, I said firmly. I want this to be different. Umar laughed. Yeah, right. That's what you said about Ariba too. I stayed silent. Ariba started noticing me, I realized. Not in the way I imagined, with love or care. No, it was curiosity. She would glance my way when she thought I wasn't looking, or mention me in passing when Bilal wasn't around. One afternoon she stopped me while I was watering plants. Saad, she said, tilting her head. I haven't seen you around much. Everything okay? I smiled faintly. I've been busy. She frowned. Busy with what? Something new. I shrugged. Life, I guess. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You've changed. I mean different somehow. I chuckled. People change. You should try it sometime. She didn't respond, just walked away. But I could feel her curiosity, the same way a shadow follows without permission. That night, Sarah and I met at a small cafe. Why don't you ever mention me? I asked quietly. She smiled gently. Because it doesn't matter who knows. What matters is who cares. And I care. I care too, I said. But it feels safer this way. Peaceful. She nodded. I like peaceful. It's rare. And it's worth protecting. We talked for hours about small things, about nothing and yet everything. Her laughter didn't belong to anyone but the room. Her eyes didn't compare me to anyone else. She didn't expect me to be more than I was. For the first time in years I felt seen. Truly seen. The next day Umar didn't hold back. So, tell me everything. What's it like? It's easy, I said. She doesn't judge, doesn't rush, doesn't need me to prove anything. Sounds like a dream. You sure she's real? She is, I said. And I don't want to ruin it by making it public. Ah, classic Saad. Hiding happiness in a corner. One day it'll come out. Maybe, I said softly. But I'm not ready yet. Not for attention, not for opinions, not for Ariba's drama. Umar sighed. Fine, fine. Keep her hidden. Just don't lose her while you're busy being patient. Ariba noticed more. She asked about my weekends, about work, about why I wasn't as available as before. I answered politely, casually, never revealing more than she needed. One evening she asked, You've been distant. Something changed? I looked her in the eyes and said nothing. Silence is louder than any answer. She frowned, glancing around. Are you seeing someone? I let the question hang. She didn't need an answer. The look on her face, something between curiosity and panic, told me she didn't expect it. Why does it matter? I asked softly. Does it change anything? It may be, she stammered. I shook my head. It doesn't matter to you, Ariba. People only notice what they think they can control. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She looked away. That moment, small as it was, felt like the first crack in the wall she'd built around herself. Sarah called that night. You sound different, she said. I am, I admitted. I feel more aware of things. People, motivations, even the ones I thought I knew. Good, she said softly. Awareness keeps you safe. And strong. Don't let anyone take that from you. I won't, I said. I hate that it's coming from Ariba. Not because I care about her, but because I see now how some people only value you when they feel you might slip away. She was silent for a moment. Then she said, You're not slipping away from me. I chose you. And I'm not going anywhere. Her words were simple, but they carried weight. I smiled quietly. Thank you. Umar texted me late that night. She's noticing. Be careful. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to, but because I knew. I had always known. People notice only when they think they might lose you. Sarah's quiet presence had given me confidence, made me aware of what real loyalty feels like. Ariba's curiosity? That was meaningless. Ownership disguised as attention. I understood something then. Some people will never see your worth until they believe they might lose you. Some people don't love, they just want possession. Sarah called again. You're quiet. Are you thinking too much? Maybe, I admitted. About how some people don't realize what they have until it's gone. About how others see value only when it's too late. You've changed, she said gently. Stronger now, wiser. I like it. I smiled, letting her words sink in. I like it too. Days went by and Ariba's questions grew bolder. Casual remarks became pointed observations. Did you do something different at work? She asked one afternoon. Maybe, I said lightly. Why do you care? Her lips pressed together. I just notice things. I chuckled quietly. Notice or control? She said nothing. She never did when confronted. That silence, more than anything, told me everything. Umar called again that evening. You know she's noticing, right? Don't let it mess with your head. I won't, I said firmly. I see things now. I understand motives, desires, everything. Sarah, she's real. Ariba, she's just curious. Good man, Umar said. Keep it that way. I sat on the balcony that night, watching the lights of her house. Ariba moved inside, unaware of my gaze. I didn't care. I didn't need her attention. Sarah was waiting for me tomorrow, and that was enough. I whispered to myself, some people notice you too late. Others notice just in time. And I know which I prefer. I didn't expect the confrontation. That's the thing about life. You think it's quiet, predictable, and then someone opens a door you didn't know existed. Ariba's laughter echoed in the lobby as I followed her into the living room. Bilal was there, leaning casually against the sofa, trying to look confident. I could smell his ego from across the room. Oh, Saad. Ariba exclaimed, bright as ever. This is Bilal. He's been hearing a lot about you. Our neighbor. I froze for a split second, the words sinking like ice in my chest. Neighbor. Just a neighbor. I smiled lightly, calmly. Not because I wasn't hurt, but because I wasn't going to let her arrogance dictate my reaction. She's my girlfriend, I said simply. The room went still. Ariba's face lost all color. Her eyes widened, the words stuck somewhere between disbelief and panic. Bilal straightened, his casual confidence crumbling in real time. Wait, what? Bilal asked, voice wavering. She's your girlfriend? Ariba's mouth moved, but no sound came out. Yes, I said again, quieter this time, letting it sink in. She's my girlfriend. I don't need to introduce her as a neighbor. That's not her role in my life. Sarah, standing quietly beside me, didn't need to say a word. Her presence alone was enough. Calm, steady, untouchable. Bilal looked at her, then back at me, unsure whether to assert himself or melt. Ariba opened her mouth, then closed it. I saw the ego I'd known for years crumbling behind her wide eyes. She said you were just a neighbor, Bilal stammered, his voice losing the bravado he had carried in my mind. Yeah, I said gently. And I corrected it. Because truth is more important than appearances. Ariba's fingers fidgeted with the hem of her sleeve. I didn't know. You didn't know? I repeated, soft but steady. You didn't know what it means to treat someone with respect? To acknowledge their place in your life? Or were you just curious to see how far you could push me? She swallowed hard. I just... Don't, I said firmly, my voice calm but cutting. Just don't. Silence would have been better than lies. Bilal shifted uncomfortably. I thought. Thought what? I asked. That because you are new you can claim what's not yours? That because she smiled at you once I would step aside? He stammered, eyes darting between Ariba and me. Sarah's gaze didn't leave me. Quiet strength. No fear. No pleading. No games. Just truth. Ariba finally spoke, a whisper barely above the air. Stop, I interrupted. No more excuses. You chose words that didn't belong to you. That's your problem. Bilal muttered, I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to? I asked, a smile threatening but restrained. Intentions don't erase the reality. You spoke. I corrected. That's all. Sarah's hand brushed mine lightly. Not for support. Not for comfort. For acknowledgement. That small gesture spoke volumes. I felt my chest tighten, not with fear, not with pride, but with belonging. Ariba's eyes darted to Sarah. I could see the realization dawning. This wasn't about flirtation anymore. This wasn't about casual attention. This was presence. Ownership. Not hers. Ariba tried again. I didn't mean to. I shook my head slowly. Enough. The truth has been said. You'll adjust. Or you won't. That's your choice. Not mine. Bilal swallowed, mumbling something incoherent. I didn't even want to hear it. The room's air shifted. The power had moved not because I demanded it but because I stood. Sarah smiled softly at me. Just a nod, barely noticeable. But I felt it resonate. She didn't need to speak, she didn't need to prove anything. Her presence was the statement. Ariba's lips pressed into a thin line. I didn't realize. You never do, I said quietly. You never realize until it's too late. But I've stopped waiting for that moment. I exist. I have my own life. And that life isn't defined by your acknowledgement. Bilal's jaw tightened. So you two are together? Yes, I said. We are. And it's not negotiable. Ariba's shoulders slumped slightly. The fire of control in her eyes dulled, replaced by frustration she didn't know how to release. I didn't think, she started again, but I cut her off. Do not speak, I said softly. Your words now don't matter. I've heard all I need. Sarah reached over, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. Let's go, she said gently. I nodded. Calmly. I turned and left, not with anger, not with revenge, just with certainty. Bilal and Ariba watched us go, and I could feel the shift in energy. The air had changed, the room had changed, everything had changed. Later, Umar called. So did it happen? I smiled quietly. Yes. And it's done. You sounded different. Calm? Not calm, I said. Steady. Truth doesn't need drama. Nice. So how did she react? Predictably, I said. Curiosity. Frustration. Ego bruised. She's realizing her games have limits. And I finally don't care. Good, Umar said. That's exactly what you needed. Finally, someone can't push you around. I leaned back. It's not about pushing or winning. It's about standing. For the first time, I'm standing in full view. And no one can take that away. Ariba sent me a text later that night. Can we talk? I read it and smiled faintly. Talk about what? I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because the answer was obvious. Words wouldn't fix what she ignored for years. Sarah texted me. Proud of you. I held my phone, feeling the weight of truth and strength. Not validation. Not revenge. Just clarity. The next morning, Ariba came to my gate. Saad, wait, she said. I opened the gate slowly. Yes. I didn't know. Not your words, I said softly. Your actions speak louder than any sentence. And I've seen them all. I've waited. I've observed. I understand now. She opened her mouth, closed it, swallowed hard. I could see the panic behind her eyes. The control she thought she had, gone. Sarah stood beside me, silent but present. Ariba's gaze shifted to her, and for a moment she seemed unsure how to act. That uncertainty, her ego bruised, was the first sign of consequence I'd ever seen her face. Thank you, she whispered finally, voice trembling. For what? I asked. For everything. For being patient. For not reacting. I shook my head. I reacted. Calmly. That's all. Truth reacts better than anger. Bilal appeared at the doorway, awkward, uncertain. I am sorry. I didn't know. You didn't know? I asked. You didn't know? Or you didn't care? He didn't answer. Not because he couldn't. Because he realized it didn't matter anymore. Sarah's hand brushed mine again. No words. Just presence. Power. Peace. I nodded slightly. Let's go. As we walked away, I felt the weight of years lifting off my chest. Not from revenge, not from proving anything, but from the simple act of stating truth. My world was no longer defined by her perceptions. By standing firm, by letting the truth speak, I had shifted everything. And for the first time I felt seen. Not because I demanded it, but because I earned it. Ariba's gaze followed us, full of curiosity, frustration, and something I wouldn't name. Bilal's confidence cracked. Their whispers would follow, but their power over me? Gone. Sarah squeezed my hand lightly. I smiled. Quietly. No words needed. She understood. She always did. That single sentence, she's my girlfriend, was all it took. No insults. No drama. No explanations. Just truth. And truth did all the work for me. After the confrontation, the world felt different. I walked past Ariba's house and noticed her curtains twitch. She was watching, I was sure, but it didn't bother me. Not like before. Umar called that evening. So she reached out? I wouldn't call it reaching out, I said. More like testing. Subtle messages, fake concern, sudden warmth. Classic Ariba, he laughed. You know it's not real, right? I do, I said quietly. But watching her scramble, it's satisfying in its own way. Saad, be careful, Umar said. Don't let this get to you. It won't, I said. I've stopped trying to impress her. That's the difference. The next morning I was at work. Hassan came over, leaning against my desk. You're walking differently these days. Confident even? I smiled faintly. I guess some people finally get their wake-up call. He raised an eyebrow. Ariba? Something like that, I said lightly. He chuckled. Good. It's about time she realized you're not just her neighbor. You're you. I nodded, feeling the calm satisfaction that comes from being recognized without begging. Exactly. I don't need approval anymore. Later, my office manager called me in. Saad, I've noticed your work lately. Sharp, precise. You've been stepping up. I smiled faintly. Thank you. I've been focusing more. Good. Keep it up. It's noticed and appreciated. I nodded. Recognition like that felt better than any dramatic confrontation. Silent, earned respect. Not forced attention. Ariba's subtle messages started arriving. Texts asking about my day, questions about work, little reminders that she was still present. I read them and didn't reply immediately. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need to. Let her curiosity linger. Umar laughed when I told him. She's fishing. Don't bite. I'm not biting, I said. I'm just observing. You sound calm, he said. I don't know if that's good or scary. Good, I said. This calm is earned. One evening, Ariba's mother appeared at my gate. Saad, can we talk? She asked politely. I invited her in. She sat down, fidgeting slightly. I wanted to apologize for my daughter, she said softly. She can be headstrong. I hope she didn't trouble you too much. I smiled faintly. It's fine. I've learned to deal with people like her. She nodded, eyes darting. She seems to have changed though. Quieter, maybe more thoughtful. You're different too, aren't you? Different how? I asked. Confident, she said. Calm. Not easily shaken. You command respect without demanding it. I shrugged lightly. I guess life teaches lessons in strange ways. She smiled, a soft, warm smile. She'll realize her mistakes soon. Hopefully before it's too late. Maybe, I said. But it's not my job to remind her. Lessons are for the learner, not the observer. At work, Hassan pulled me aside again. You've been quiet lately, focused? What's going on? Nothing special, I said. Just I'm done chasing approval. Focus feels better than attention. Good for you, he said. It suits you. People notice strength even when it's quiet. I nodded. Exactly. I'm learning that now. Sarah called later that night. How was work? Busy but good, I said. I've been focusing on myself. It's rewarding. I'm proud of you, she said softly. You're handling this with dignity. Not reacting, just being. That's the plan, I said. Revenge is tempting, closure is tempting. But I've realized silence and focus are stronger. You're right, she said. Not everyone can do that. I've learned the hard way, I admitted. The next day I saw Ariba from across the street. She waved casually, her smile forced. I waved back neutral. Her ego seemed bruised, but she didn't know how to fix it. Her phone buzzed and she glanced down. Probably a text from me she hoped I'd answer. I didn't. Umar called later. You ignored her? Yes, I said. I'm done holding her up. She'll learn on her own. Wow, you sound different. Stronger. I feel stronger, I said. Not because I made her feel small. Because I stopped letting her define me. At home, Sarah smiled softly. You're handling this so well. I've realized something, I said quietly. Some people only value you when they feel they might lose you. Others they notice on time. And I'm grateful for the ones who noticed on time. She nodded. You deserve that peace. And you've earned it. Her words settled around me, calming the remnants of anger I hadn't realized lingered. Ariba's subtle attempts continued. Texts asking about my day, small questions, jokes. I answered politely, never revealing more than necessary. The curiosity was obvious. Ownership, not love. Bilal began showing cracks too. At work, I noticed him standing stiffly, trying to assert dominance in conversations, only to falter when I made a point calmly. Confidence without foundation collapses quietly. Hassan whispered one afternoon, you're handling them well. I'd have snapped long ago. I'm learning, I said. Patience and observation can teach more than anger ever will. Ariba's mother texted again. I hope she hasn't troubled you too much. She's learning slowly. I smiled faintly. Everyone learns on their own timeline. I'm fine. Umar texted simultaneously, she's noticing more. Don't let it get to you. I won't, I whispered. I've learned my lesson already. This is their lesson now. The office manager pulled me aside once more. Saad, I've been observing you. Quiet, diligent, respected. People notice strength differently, but it's noticed. Thank you, I said softly. I've learned that quietly holding your ground speaks louder than any dramatic gesture. Exactly, she said. Keep it up. That evening Sarah and I walked quietly in the park. You've changed, she said. I've stopped chasing approval, I said. Stopped worrying about ego. Watching them crumble not with glee but with clarity. Their perfect images crack when they realize I'm not under their control. That's maturity, she said softly. Not revenge, not pride. Just awareness. Yes, I said. And it feels better than any temporary satisfaction of proving them wrong. Ariba's attempts became more subtle, desperate almost. Messages asking questions, small gestures reaching out. I didn't respond impulsively. I didn't react. Observation was stronger than engagement. Bilal's insecurity grew. He tried to assert himself around me at work, but faltered every time. I didn't need to confront him. The cracks were obvious and they would widen on their own. Hassan observed silently. You've learned the real power isn't in forcing others down. It's in not holding them up. I nodded. Exactly. The weaker their assumptions, the less I need to push. Sarah squeezed my hand. You're handling everything beautifully. I've realized, I said quietly, that some people's ego bruises teach us the most about ourselves. Patience and calm, they're stronger than anger and confrontation. That night, I looked at Ariba's house from the balcony. She was inside, pacing, phone in hand. Her curiosity, her attempts to regain control, it was almost comical. Almost. I whispered to myself, their pride turns into regret. Slowly, naturally. And I remained free. Observing. Standing. Learning. Sarah's hand brushed mine. No words. No need. Her presence was the anchor I needed. The moral fight was over. Revenge was tempting, ego tempting. But the clarity, the calm, the self-respect, they were stronger. I didn't need to push anyone down. I simply stopped holding them up. And watching the cracks appear quietly, naturally that was the sweetest satisfaction. I didn't expect her to speak first. Not after years of silence, of pretending I didn't exist, of ignoring my presence as if loyalty were invisible. And yet, that morning, Ariba appeared at my gate. Her face was pale, her eyes frantic. Saad, she began, voice trembling. I looked at her, expression neutral. Yes. I made mistakes, she said quickly. Big mistakes. And I can't stop thinking about everything. I leaned against the gate, calm. Go on. I was blind, she continued, words spilling out. I didn't notice you, didn't see I was careless. And now I can't stand the thought of losing you. Not like this. I inhaled slowly, letting the words hang between us. Years of longing, of silence, of invisible loyalty, condensed into this moment. And you think this changes anything? I asked softly. I hope it does, she said, taking a tentative step closer. I realize now you were always the one. I was too proud. Too stubborn. And Bilal, I thought. Enough, I interrupted gently. Stop explaining. Stop justifying. The truth is here, right now. You ignored me for years and only now you notice. Her lips quivered. I see it now. I can't lose you. I shook my head slowly. Ariba, love that comes after competition isn't love. It's convenience. You only notice what you think might slip away. That's not love. That's fear. Tears welled in her eyes. I was afraid of what I'd lose. Of what I'd never understand until it was gone. And yet it's gone, I said softly. Not because I wanted it to be, but because I stopped holding my life for you to define. You had your chance. She whispered, can you forgive me? I considered it. Forgiveness, it crossed my mind, a fleeting wave. But returning? Never. Not even once. I had grown stronger in absence, in clarity. Forgiveness is an act for myself, not an invitation to return. I forgive, I said finally, but don't mistake it for going back. That door is closed. Permanently. Her shoulders sagged, the fight leaving her. So Sarah? She asked, voice small, almost fearful. She's not a complication, I said softly. She's always been my choice. I never asked for her to compete. I didn't need that. She never demanded me. She's been steady, silent, present, everything you never were. Her gaze dropped. I see that now. I smiled faintly. Not with joy, not with triumph, but with calm acceptance. That's all you need to see. For yourself. Not for me. Do you still care? She asked, almost a whisper. I shook my head. I care about what I've learned. About the man I've become. Not about returning to what was. She looked down, shame and regret mingling. I wasted years. No, I said quietly. You taught me something valuable. Not love, not companionship, but clarity. The kind you don't find in comfort, only in absence and observation. Her lips quivered. I thought I could have it all. Control, admiration, maybe even you? You thought wrong, I said calmly. Control is an illusion. Admiration is fleeting. And I was never yours to take. Her voice cracked. I never understood until now. Exactly, I said softly. Until now. And now is too late. I looked to the side and Sarah appeared. Quiet, calm, steady. Her presence alone shifted the air. Ariba noticed instantly, the realization hitting her like ice. Ariba whispered. Yes, I said softly, brushing past. She's mine. Sarah didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her calm strength spoke louder than any words. And in that moment, the contrast was complete. Loyalty versus curiosity, presence versus ownership, choice versus ego. Ariba's mouth opened and closed. No words came. I didn't expect them to. You're happy, she whispered finally. I am, I said softly. Because I finally chose life, not pride. Choice, not competition. Calm, not chaos. She swallowed hard. Can I talk to you? Just for a moment? I paused. You can talk. But know this, talking won't change the past. It won't undo the years of ignoring and pretending. It won't shift what's already set. Her eyes filled with tears. I just wanted you to know. That I regret. That I see now what I lost. That nothing can change it, I said. Exactly. And that's why I'm free. Her head bowed. I wish I'd understood sooner. I shook my head lightly. Understanding doesn't matter now. Only action does. And your action came too late. Sarah squeezed my hand lightly. Not for support, not for reassurance, but for acknowledgement. I felt the weight of years lift, not in anger but in clarity. Ariba's voice trembled. I thought I loved you. You thought, I said quietly. That's different from knowing. Love doesn't wait until you fear losing it. Love chooses without hesitation. Love stays without strings. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I see that now. I nodded. And now you see the truth. That's all. Nothing else matters. She swallowed hard. Will you ever think of me the same? I smiled faintly. No. I think of what I've learned, not what I lost. That's different. That's growth. She whispered, almost inaudible, I'm sorry. Say it if you must, I said softly. But I don't need it. My peace doesn't depend on your words anymore. Sarah leaned closer. Her eyes calm, unwavering. I breathed in, feeling grounded, anchored. She never asked me to choose, never demanded me. Yet every day I chose her. Quietly, naturally, without conflict. Ariba's lips quivered. I wanted to be part of your life. But you weren't, I said gently. Because choice matters more than regret. Timing matters more than intention. And clarity matters more than ego. Her hands trembled. I lost you. Yes, I said softly. You did. And now, I'm free to move forward, without waiting, without compromise, without competition. She whispered again, I thought I would get you back. You never had me to get back, I said. You only had what I allowed. And now I allow myself to live, fully, calmly, clearly. That's all. Her gaze dropped. No words left. Only silent understanding. And maybe regret. Sarah smiled faintly, brushing my hand. Shall we go? She asked softly. I nodded. Yes. Let's go. We walked away side by side. The sunlight fell across our path, steady, warm. I felt light, unburdened, clear. No anger, no revenge, no illusions. Only presence, choice, and truth. Ariba's eyes followed us until we disappeared around the corner. She stayed frozen, silent, ego exposed, lessons only partially learned. And for the first time in years, I understood completely. Some doors close not with anger, not with drama, but with clarity. Some doors close simply because the right choice already walked through another. Sarah didn't ask me to choose her. She never had to. I did every day with awareness, patience, and care. Ariba's regret didn't hurt me. It didn't tempt me. It only confirmed what I already knew. I had grown, I had learned, I had moved beyond the shadows of misplaced loyalty. I whispered softly to myself, almost inaudible, some people notice too late. Others notice just in time. And I chose right on time. Her voice broke the air behind me. I hope she makes you happy. I smiled faintly, walking forward. She already does. No anger. No lingering attachment. Just calm. Just choice. Just truth. And that's how it felt. finally free, finally seen, finally whole. The morning sun felt different that day. Not because the weather changed, but because I had changed. I walked down the street, not noticing Ariba's house, not searching for approval, not needing anyone to acknowledge me. I existed for myself now, steady, calm, free. Sarah walked beside me, quiet, supportive. Her hand brushed mine as we passed a small park bench. No words were needed. Presence was enough. I glanced at her, smiled faintly. She smiled back. That simple exchange carried more weight than 1,000 explanations. Umar called that afternoon. "So how does it feel?" "Feels like peace," I said. "Like I can breathe without waiting for permission, without worrying about invisible approvals." "Sounds powerful," he said. "I like this version of you." I laughed quietly. "It's not power in the way you think. It's clarity. You don't need to push anyone down. You just stop holding them up." Later at work, Hassan stopped me in the hallway. "Saad, everyone's noticing your confidence. Quiet, calm, precise. People who try to undermine you, they're shrinking. Not because you attacked them. Because they can't reach you anymore." I nodded, letting the thought settle. I never needed to prove anything. Their perception isn't my reality. I've learned that. "Impressive," he said softly. "Most people can't achieve that. They want recognition, control, but you." "I just exist," I said quietly. "And that existence is enough." I received a text from Ariba later. "Can we meet? Please. I need to explain." I stared at it, letting the phone rest in my hand. There was nothing to explain. Her regret didn't matter anymore. I didn't respond. Silence was my answer. Not anger. Not triumph. Just clarity. Sarah glanced at me. "Ignoring her?" "Yes," I said. "Her words, her explanations, they don't change my life. They never did." "Good," she said softly. "You're free." "Yes," I whispered, finally free. At night, I stood on my balcony, looking over the street we had walked that morning. Lights flickered in windows, life continued. I realized something important. My world had expanded, not because I fought or forced anyone to recognize me, but because I simply stopped standing where I didn't belong anymore. Ariba's house looked small, almost insignificant now. The pride that once seemed so imposing shrinking. Her world had narrowed while mine had grown. She couldn't reach me, not emotionally, not mentally. And that was the strongest form of karma. Sarah appeared behind me, leaning lightly against the railing. "You're thinking about her," she said softly. "Not really," I said. "I'm thinking about us, about peace, about the lessons learned. But yes, a little reflection is natural." "You're calm," she said. "Really calm. You've grown so much." "I had to," I said quietly. Years of silence, watching, helping, waiting, they weren't weakness. They were preparation. I needed to understand my worth before anyone else could. The next morning at work, Bilal tried again. Stupid attempts to assert himself, to regain footing. I let him speak, answering calmly, minimally, without raising my voice, without letting ego enter the conversation. By the time the meeting ended, I could see his frustration. My calm, my presence, my refusal to react, it was the loudest statement of all. Hassan leaned over and whispered, "You're untouchable now. Not because you fought, but because you stopped participating in their drama." I smiled faintly. Exactly. Strength doesn't need noise. Confidence doesn't need applause. Clarity doesn't need validation. Later, Sarah and I walked through the park again. Leaves rustled in the wind. Children played in the distance. The world moved forward, indifferent to the petty dramas that had once consumed me. "You know," she said softly, "people often mistake silence for weakness. They think ignoring them is giving up. But it's the opposite. It's control." "Yes," I said. And it took me years to understand. Not everyone notices it. Not everyone respects it. But those who do, they matter. Those who don't, they fade away. She looked at me, eyes soft. "And now they can't touch you anymore." "No," I said. "And I'm grateful. Not for revenge, not for ego, but for clarity, peace, freedom. That's the true victory." That evening, I received another text from Ariba's mother. "I hope she's learning. I hope you're at peace." I smiled faintly. I typed back. Short, simple, complete. No explanations, no drama, no doors left open. Sarah peeked at the phone and nodded. "Perfect," she said softly. "Your peace is enough." "Yes," I said. "It always was. I just needed to stop looking for validation in the wrong places." At home, I reflected on the journey. Years of quiet observation, loyalty, and patience had brought me here. Not anger, not revenge, not triumph, but maturity. emotional depth, awareness. I realized my silence had never been weakness. It was preparation. For growth, for clarity, for freedom. For a life I didn't owe to anyone's recognition. Ariba's regret, Bilal's frustration, the whispers behind my back, all meaningless now. They mattered only because I allowed them to matter before. And now I didn't. Sarah sat beside me quietly. Her presence unwavering, steady, calm, loyal, choice without demand. That's the life I had chosen, consciously, intentionally. Weeks passed. The neighborhood adjusted. Ariba's glances became hesitant, her words faltering. She tried subtle gestures, small attempts to regain connection, but they fell flat. I didn't respond. My life was full, my world expanded, my mind clear. I watched quietly, not with triumph, not with glee, but with understanding. Karma wasn't about destruction. It was about becoming unreachable to those who once underestimated you. Bilal, too, faded in influence. His attempts to assert himself failed quietly. Not because I fought him, not because I exposed him, but because my world was no longer defined by their perceptions. One evening, Sarah and I visited the old park bench where we had walked before. Sitting there watching the sunset, I felt complete. The quiet strength we shared didn't need validation. The bond didn't require explanation. It was calm, steady, undeniable. I never realized how much peace mattered, I said softly. You've earned it, Sarah said. And you've grown into it beautifully. I understand now, I said. The moments of pain, silence, waiting, they were all necessary. Not for revenge, not for drama, but to understand my worth. To understand that I was never just a neighbor. I was simply standing where I didn't belong anymore. She smiled faintly. Exactly. I inhaled the crisp air, feeling the weight of the past lift. Not with anger. Not with triumph. But with calm, measured clarity. Some people will never understand, I said softly, but it doesn't matter. Their world shrinks. Mine expands. And I remain free. Sarah's hand found mine. Warm. Steady. Present. I whispered almost to myself, I was never just a neighbor. I was always more, and now I stand where I belong. And that was enough. No doors needed to slam. No words needed to wound. No revenge needed to prove strength. The strongest karma isn't loud. It's presence, calm, clarity, self-respect. And I had it. The street was quiet now. The neighborhood continued its rhythm, but I walked differently. No one could touch the life I had built in silence, patience, and awareness. No one could claim what I hadn't offered. Sarah squeezed my hand and I smiled. Not for anyone else. Not for recognition. But for myself. I'm finally free, I whispered. And you deserve it, she said softly. Yes, I agreed. I always did. The sun dipped below the horizon. Shadows stretched across the street. I stood tall, calm, confident. The past existed only as a lesson, the present as clarity, the future as peace. Ariba's world had shrunk. Bilal's confidence had cracked. But I didn't win because they lost. I won because I found my worth without their validation. I took a deep breath. The city lights blinked on one by one, distant voices echoed, life continued. And I walked forward, silent, steady, clear. Not a neighbor. Not invisible. Not waiting for acknowledgement. I was present. I was chosen. I was free. And I would never stand in someone else's shadow again. I was never just a neighbor. I was simply standing where I didn't belong anymore.